The NFL Scouting Combine begins this week in Indianapolis, a chance for Falcons coach Dan Quinn and general manager Thomas Dimitroff to decide who do they want to take with the 16th pick in the draft. We'll talk about it next on AJC Falcons News Now.
This is AJC Falcons News Now, sponsored by Miller Lite. Here are your hosts, Brandon Adams and former Atlanta Falcon Chuck Smith.
Hello everybody, welcome into AJC Falcons News Now, sponsored by Miller Lite. My name is Brandon Adams. This is the former Atlanta Falcon Chuck Smith. The NFL Scouting Combine in Indianapolis begins today. We'll talk about that over the course of our program, and we'll spend a lot of time talking about who the Falcons may take with the 16th pick. Obviously, what goes on at the Scouting Combine will give you a little bit of a sense of how that pick should go. Certainly some peace of mind for Atlanta with the choice they'll eventually make. And Chuck, there are some new names on the horizon for the Falcons here in the basis of the mock drafts. And one of these is someone apparently you like as well, because I'm going to show you a quote from Chuck Smith here. I'm going to read you one, at least here in just a little bit. So we've talked primarily when it comes to those 16th picks about A.J. Epinesa from Iowa and Clavon Chesson from LSU. Those are the two names you see coming up over and over again. But via CBS Sports, a couple of their mock drafts have a couple of new names in place here. For instance, Ryan Wilson from CBS Sports with the number 16 overall pick has Atlanta taking Javon Kinlaw out of South Carolina. Good news to me. I think good news to a lot of the people who are watching us right now. And Pete Prisco, CBS Sports, has the Falcons taking Terrell Lewis out of Alabama, a name that I know that you like.
Woo!
Because I read a quote from you, from our buddy D. Orlando Ledbetter from AJC.com, where you showed some support for Lewis there. So what do you make about these two new entrants into the discussion here, Lewis from Alabama, and the idea that Kinlaw could possibly fall to the Falcons at 16?
All right, let me tell you this. Two incredible talents. Both of them a little different, but really both of them from standpoint of they're both late bloomers.
Yeah.
Whereas Kinlaw's been healthy, Lewis has been, had some issues, but Kinlaw, if the Falcons can get Kinlaw at 16, it's unbelievable. See, but this is what I think though, Brandon. I think that when Kinlaw leaves the combine, I think he's going to skyrocket. I think he's going to go even way higher than 16. I think I really believe that, but man, you talking about a great addition for the Falcons, Kinlaw and Grady Jarrett. To me, that really offsets a little bit of not having the edge. So now, drafting the edge, and then Terrell Lewis, man, tall, long, quick, fast. And I just happened to get a chance to, work with him before the Senior Bowl for a week. Went to Tuscaloosa, got a chance to work with him. So I'm very familiar. He's fast, he's quick. He'd be the perfect edge rusher for the Falcons. So, man, that's great news.
Yes, let me talk about Kinlaw in a moment. I'll do Lewis now. Obviously, there's a lot to like about Terrell Lewis. A guy that's part of the Alabama roster. Even if you're not an Alabama fan, a lot of Falcons fans will welcome someone like that were he to be drafted by Atlanta. There are some draft projections that have him going a little lower than 16. So maybe, in a certain extent, a reach for the Falcons here if it were to indeed go down. What Pete Prisco suggests at CBSSports.com. The big knock on him is injuries. He's dealt with a couple of injuries 2 years in a row. So it kind of comes down to what would you be more concerned about? A guy like Clavon Chesson, who when healthy hasn't always shown up as dynamic as you want him to, or a guy like Lewis who seems to show up when healthy but hasn't always been healthy. I'm going to talk out of both sides of my mouth on this because on the one hand, I'm going to knock Tua Tagovailoa for not being able to stay healthy. That'd be part of the draft evaluation for me on him. The fact that he's dealt with pretty serious injuries 2 years in a row, the hip injury, a very serious thing to try to come back from. For Lewis, though, I guess I'm going to give him a free pass on that. Had he been healthy for his entire Alabama career, he's probably not available at the 16th pick. He's probably a top 5 pick, maybe a top 10 pick. So from that standpoint, I can almost talk myself into Terrell Lewis a little easier than I can talk myself into Clavon Chesson, who looks like a terrific player, but hasn't always played like a terrific player.
Yeah, you know what? It's interesting. Both of the guys have issues. Now, I understand exactly what you're saying. When you look at Terrell Lewis, you're looking at a guy who has been injured. But in this game, pass rushers are so hard to find that the Falcons and most teams, you have to take a risk. It's a calculated risk, same way the Falcons did with Vic Beasley. And then we're talking about Chesson. You're talking about a kid that showed a lot in the end. You know what I mean? He was kind of like a finisher when it came to the national championship game, when, also when they played against Clemson. But it's really, man, it's a tough one. I mean, I love Terrell Lewis because I know what he brings to the table, right? I know what he can become. I know what kind of movement he has. I know what kind of moves he has. I know what his abilities are. And to me, a lot of people would say it's a, because a lot of people would say it's kind of like a gamble to take him, but that's the risk you take. But I tell you that the intangibles, if he stays healthy and if he's healthy, the intangibles are, he's pretty spectacular.
Before we take some comments on this, I will say I'm like you. Ultimately, I don't believe that Javon Kinlaw will be available when the Falcons pick at 16. But of all the names we talk about on a regular basis, not counting some of my own, pet projects like a guy like DeAndre Swift or something like that, but of the most commonly mentioned names for the Falcons with the 16th pick, if Javon Kinlaw was there, I would definitely take him, and I wouldn't even look back, or I wouldn't have any other consideration if Kinlaw was there. Ultimately, this kind of comes down to he's just a bigger prospect. Yeah. And to me, the bigger the prospect is, the safer the bet becomes. Because one of the things you're asking Kinlaw to do is use his size to his advantage. When you start talking about how does Chaison's athleticism factor into the next level, when you start talking about, what someone like Lewis and the need to stay healthy once you get to the NFL, those become relatively risky bets, at least relatively speaking, for the 16th overall pick. However, asking Kinlaw to go do in the NFL what he's done in college, be a big space eater, provide some support for Grady Jarrett, to me that's a much safer bet. I think the biggest lucky break the Falcons could get in the first round is if somehow Kinlaw could fall. If he did fall, I'd draft him without a second thought. I just don't believe he's going to be there.
Chason, am I saying it right? Chason?
Yeah. Either way.
Two?
Yeah.
All right, listen.
We'll accept both
pronunciations. Yeah. Okay. Listen, man. Chason's a 3-4 outside backer, in my opinion. Right? LSU played what? They played a 3-4. So to me, now he would come up and rush the passer. Again, I've talked about the true edge. This is another issue that I would have. We're talking about Espinoza. We're talking about him moving, being an in and out defensive end. But if you can get Kinlaw, it's not even a comparison. The impact he'll have. Now the Chason kid, he might come in and rush the passer, do the things he does, but he's a 3-4 backer. Yeah. You know what I mean? So gosh, I struggle with that. So now what we're doing is getting a kid that, and he might be able to transition, but we're doing the same thing again. We're getting a hybrid that is now more outside backer than D-line. He's just like the guy who's really like the two guys we already have.
Right.
Or had, and Vic, and then Tack still here.
Well, let me go to that D. Orlando Ledbetter story from AJC.com where he gets a quote from Daniel Jeremiah from the NFL Network about A.J. Epinesa, one of the names you just mentioned. Jeremiah telling D-Led, I don't see any bad tape on him. He's not real explosive when you watch him coming off the edge. He's big and powerful. He has great hands. He can flip his hips and finish. He's got a variety of moves. But here's where D-Led interjects and says, this is the quote from D-Led, he's considered a safe pick. So I saw you make the gesture when it's noted that Epinesa is not very explosive. We've been talking about that for the entire time. That lack of explosiveness is why I wouldn't want to draft him with the 16th pick. But other side of this for a moment to play devil's advocate. Is there something being said for, even if he's not as explosive off the edge as you want him to be, the idea of a guy who can do a variety of different things, maybe he's not a bust, and so therefore you talk yourself into drafting him because of D-Led's phrase here. He's considered a safe pick. That seems boring to me. I think the Falcons have a marketing issue. I don't think you can draft for safety with a number 16 overall pick. I think you've got to be a little bit more aggressive than that, just given the current state of affairs for Atlanta. But to play the other side for a moment, should Epinesa get an extra look because the chances of him being a bust are maybe not all that high?
Now, I understand what you're saying now, but there are guys that aren't necessarily as explosive that have great hand movement moves that they can survive.
Yeah.
Now, it's just from my standpoint, I just want that speed burner.
I know.
But look, listen, I had a chance to watch the kid. The kid is strong. He plays hard. He's explosive. All the different things. Let me give you a comparison over the last few years that you might remember, and he's close to heart. Derek Morgan. This is Derek.
Out of Georgia
Tech. To me, he's Derek Morgan, a guy that might get, the 7-8 sacks type of guy, the way he's built the whole nine. But, I don't have a problem with if the Falcons got him if he was more edge than inside guy. But I'm not big on that, again. But what if there's no one there? So, to me, you remember Farrell last year came out of Clemson?
Of course.
Farrell last year was way drafted too high by the Raiders, but he was what they call a safe pick at the time, right? So I wanted Ed Oliver, the kid out of Louisville, who ended up going to Buffalo. But Farrell goes to the Raiders. He goes out there, and then he really can't rush on the edge. He's a run stuffer that they move to the inside. So to me, that was a reach. I think he went at 3, 4, but it was a reach. And to me, the safe pick, isn't always the most productive because the guy who ended up getting all the sacks, double-digit rookie, is Max Crosby, who's a straight edge who doesn't move inside.
Wayne Thomas on our Facebook comment section says, I don't believe for a second the Falcons are considering their marketing position and their draft strategy. I mentioned a moment ago that Epinesa may be safe, but not exactly sexy in terms of selling jerseys and things like that. I would say that given the crowded Atlanta sports landscape, and it's pretty crowded here now, given the way in which the Falcons, for the most part, were off the radar in our city back during the fall because they were losing games, I think Atlanta should consider marketing in every aspect of the organization right now. There's an entire collection of Atlantans that need to be sort of sold on the Falcons. Obviously, a lot of people who watch our show are going to be sort of in on the Falcons no matter what. But that doesn't necessarily represent the city at large. This is a big city, busy, a lot going on. It can be easy to disregard things that seem boring, that don't seem top of mind, and that's one of the things I think the Falcons have a chance to address with the draft. Bring in someone who will get the city excited again. Bring in someone who will make it possible to imagine a better fall in 2020 than we had to endure in 2019 and 2018 for that matter as well. Ultimately, is marketing going to be the chief reason the Falcons draft someone? Obviously not. But should things like that be a consideration? I think it should be.
Yeah.
This is a business, an entertainment business.
Yeah, I understand. It's entertainment business, but where the Falcons are, listen, unless they bring in Swift, there ain't nobody I see that's going to make, the Falcon fans be like, wow, it's something exciting. Maybe, I'm coming to preseason because they got Swift from Georgia.
But there are guys in like to the top 5 you can do that. If somehow I waved a magic wand, the Falcons had the number 2 pick. There are Chase Young.
That's different.
No, but I'm saying I'm making an extreme point that maybe at 16 you don't have that guy easily found who's going to bring those jerseys in. But if you're drafting second, you better believe that this city'd have Chase Young jerseys all over the place in 2 days if they drafted him.
But Brandon, there's nobody at 16 that's going to get the Falcons. I mean, there's nobody. And then listen, the climate last year was so negative. To me, the only thing, outside of Swift, the only thing that's going to get this fan base going is they got to win. Because remember, this is the fan base that show me now. Yeah. There is no marketing, no hype, there's no slogans that's going to change the way the Falcons, fans feel. Like I said, the only person I can see that, they can market would be Swift if they got him at that point.
Well, Octavius Yeomans here on Facebook says that's who he thinks they should take. And I've written this at DogNation.com myself, build that offense to an elite level. That's a way to kind of bring the marketing part and the on-field part together and say, here's a message. We don't think any of these pass rushers are game changers. And the honest truth is I don't think any of the three, Chason, Epinesa, or Lewis I like, but even him I'm not quite sure he's a game changer the way that a Chase Young would be. If that be the case, then take someone who can be a game changer. Best running back in the draft, DeAndre Swift. That's a marketing and on-field win. And as Octavia says in the Facebook comment section, it sends a clear message of we think we can be an explosive offense, and that's what we're drafting to do.
I think so. From that standpoint, we can add more to the offense. But the defense, we got to have defense. The Falcons, listen, I don't really think I think they got to take a chance. I think through this draft process at the Senior Bowl, I believe they've been looking at edge guys. I believe that's why Lewis has kind of jumped out there because he had a great Senior Bowl. Kinlaw did what he did, destroyed everybody at the Senior Bowl. So to me, the Falcons have to draft an edge. They got to take a calculated risk. But then here again, part of it is also development. I'm gonna need us to. We've been talking about these players, but these guys. There's about 3-4 D-line coaches out there now over this time. So at some point, we got to get somebody that's going to coach them up. You got to get the right guy, but also got to get some coaching and a coach that can use some moves. Need a coach that can teach them moves. Teach them some moves. Teach them how to use the moves. Teach them how to set up the moves. So that's important, man, because these guys, last few years, the Falcons guys don't have no moves, so they ain't getting no sacks.
On this subject on YouTube for a moment, I Win 58 Amir says, if you win in Atlanta, they will come. It's that simple. However, I personally believe, and I'm going to ask you because you would know better than me, that it's not quite that simple in Atlanta. I'll give you a perfect example.
I agree.
In 1998, you guys were winning. You finished the regular season 14-2, made the Super Bowl. When in that season did you feel that the fans of the city had truly gotten behind you? How early in that 14-2 season, you guys lost relatively early to the Jets on the road. You had, the early loss at San Francisco, and you won every game after that in the regular season. When did you feel that fans were on board?
Almost to the first playoff game.
Yeah.
I mean, was it the Miami game?
Yeah.
It still wasn't packed.
Well, it was sold out. Miami,
sold out,
at the end of the regular season, Miami was sold out.
Yeah.
The 49ers' return trip to Atlanta was sold out. But in the 14-2 season, now Atlanta's been technically sold out for a number of years now for regular season games. But in 1998, 14-2 season, of the 8 home games, there were 2. My memory is, one of y'all may correct me, 2 sellouts. Mm-hmm. San Fran sold out. Miami, the 16th game of the year, sold out. Other than that, in a 14-2 year, there were only 2 sellouts back then.
Yeah.
So sometimes winning alone for our city is kind of weirdly not enough.
I think it's different here.
Yeah.
I don't listen. The Falcon fans, especially now in the new Mercedes-Benz, the year after the football. Listen, the year after the Super Bowl, I want to say the Falcons played Minnesota at the Benz. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I was at the game and there was a sellout. But man, listen, I went from section 10 something. I was in row Z. Man, me and my daughter walked down next. We could have yelled at the Minnesota players over there. So I just think again, the Falcons have to come out in preseason and do well. But to me, those first 4 games, it's imperative.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, if the Falcons don't come out the box successful, 3-1, if they come out 1-2, 1-3, it's going to be ugly, man.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I said, if you can draft an exciting player, it makes some sense to do that. James Manning also says trade back into the first. By the way, Bradley Thomas, thanks for the kind words. James Manning says trade back in the first. When you look at all the needs Atlanta has, obviously there's some sense to be made from trading back. Maybe by trading back, you're able to pick a guy like Terrell Lewis a little bit more where he's been slotted. Yeah. Maybe it brings a guy like Christian Fulton into play here. I'm going to get to Fulton here more in a moment. Maybe brings him more into play. I don't like Christian Fulton, the 16th pick, but that doesn't mean I wouldn't potentially like him more in the 20s. Does that make sense? That if you can find that dance partner to trade back with, it's always a good thing to do. But given the rush on quarterbacks early in this draft, the fact that Tua Tagovailoa is now likely a top 5, which sort of slides everybody up, the real action for trades may be before Atlanta picks at 16. It's all those meaningless wins this team collected late in the year that's kind of causing problems now.
You've been talking about that for a minute.
Yeah, you'd have more trade opportunities. You'd have everything at your disposal if it wasn't for beating Carolina in some of these no-count wins.
Well, I got something you're not going to like.
All right, go ahead.
I'm playing GM, right? I'm
Please.
the Falcons GM.
By all means.
Now. This is what I do. Okay, we got our 16, right? So Kinlaw's sitting there. We get to 8, so it's pretty. I'm hearing he's probably going to go between probably 8, 16.
Makes
Does that sound right?
Yep, that makes some sense.
So he gets to 12. He gets to 13. He gets to 14. Say he gets there, and the team before that, there's an opportunity for you to get this cat. What I'm doing is I'm giving up. For this guy, I'm giving up my 3rd and my 4th.
Really?
If that's what you want, to me, Kinlaw, you got to get a guy.
But you're not getting 3 starters at this draft. Then, if you trade a 3rd round,
you get 2. But look, to me, if you get 1 starter that has impact instantly, because the defense is terrible. Listen, we got a run stuffer and we got a pass rusher instantly. Now in the 2nd round, you still get another starter. You still gonna get another starter.
But you're talking about you're basically talking about a 50-50 chance. I mean, I like Kinlaw, but drafting him at 16, there's a 50-50 chance that he's going to succeed because that's about the chances of anybody succeeding. In the 2nd round, the chance a little bit worse than that. So you're talking about saying, well, I need multiple starters, and I'm going to take a 50-50 chance on this guy, trade an asset for that, then put a lot of pressure on my 2nd round pick to come, pan out there. That's how Atlanta always gets itself in trouble. It's all these trade-ups, which means all of a sudden now you're under more pressure for the draft picks to kind of pan out. To me, if you want a very simple description of how Atlanta got here, it's basically by doing stuff like that of saying, "Oh, I really want this guy, so let me trade one of these mid-round picks to move up and get there." And suddenly you got big-time hole at cornerback, big-time hole at defensive line, big-time hole at left guard, big-time hole at running back, about to have a big-time hole at tight end. That's how you get there because you don't draft enough players.
Bro, you beat me down just then. All right, how about this? All right, let's go with this. We get there, and I got the 3rd round. I'm going back into the boardroom. Okay, I'm going back in here, right, Jim? So now, let me just give up my 3rd round and see if that works. And maybe, like I said, a 3rd to 4th. But here's my thing. Mm-hmm. You just name a gang of holes. Now, just 2 years ago, we talking about every year we hear this is the best roster in football. Right? You got 4.
You're not hearing that anymore, though.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
But here's the thing. What you said is, all right, they shouldn't get any more offensive linemen. We are set, right? Okay, so there's no hole. They only got one guy. If one guy on this offensive line makes a hole and you got 4 first rounders, we got issues. So something's wrong. All right, running back, we already know we can fill that need.
Yeah.
That's the easy need. There's there's going to be second rounders, that fills that need, or even a third rounder, right? So now wide receiver set, quarterback set. We got to do something to get the D-line.
Yeah.
We got to do something to get the D-line. So now if you do the third and the fourth, you still got a first and a second. So here we go. I'm banking on this roster that they have put together is easier to fill than we think it is, but the other players got to step up. Deion Jones, look at that. Bring Devondre back. Look at the secondary. I mean, we got dudes. So to me, if you're saying that, we still got bigger holes with guys that we're expecting to play.
Yeah.
Like Trufant. To me, that's a big hole if we're talking about how you're alluding to, where it's a lot of holes. So we got to count that. You got Oliver. You got guys in the secondary. You're assuming Neal's going to be back. So to me, you got to get somebody on the D-line. We got listen. Here's what's going to also happen. This combine is going to be huge, but I'm going to tell you what's bigger than the combine for D linemen and pass rushers. The pro day.
Okay.
This is where the coaches they come to your college, they get to touch and feel you. They're going to put you through dang near 1,000 drills. Your tongue's going to be hanging out drooling, but that's a good thing. So to me, you're going to start seeing Terrell Lewis. What can he do there? You know what I'm saying? You're going to start seeing all the stuff. And listen, after this process, and after all these coaches have evaluated the film, it's going to change, man. You're going to see guys skyrocket up, but then you're also going to see some of what happens with these quarterbacks, because some of these quarterbacks are kind of fading, and I'm hearing Tua is going to jump up. So to me, this quarterback situation and a couple big offensive linemen are kind of in the mix before 16 also.
All right, it is AJC Falcons News Now, sponsored by Miller Lite. That's Chuck Smith. I'm Brandon Adams. Of course, Miller Lite, the official beer of the Atlanta Falcons. It tastes great, and it's just 96 calories. Let's get a lot of comments here. C. Belazaire says there's no guarantees in the $2 million. Who's he talking about? I can't quite tell. Never mind. I'll have to get more of that in a minute. Yeah, I guess so. Isaiah Davis says, you can laugh at this, but I think this team will be different. We even hired a defensive-minded coach, which led the Browns from a 28th ranked team to a 7th ranked team. I see a bunch more aspect for change for our defense. So liking the idea of Falcons being better on defense. You mentioned cornerback a moment ago. That's one of those where, I do see that as a significant need. I don't know if I see a great opportunity to address that with the 16th overall pick, but one way or another on the list of things you have to address at some point, cornerback's one of those. You don't need everybody to be a spectacular player, but you just need more solid performances from there. So one way or another, if you want to be better on defense, you got to find something at the cornerback position in one of these rounds to probably be able to address that.
Well, we know that. To me, there's spots in the secondary with even Keanu Neal.
Yeah.
I love Keanu,
right.
But how do you not go in here and not say, with honestly being true to yourself, we've had a guy get hurt 2 years, and I love Keanu Neal, but I'm not going to make an excuse for the situation. Oh, man, he got hurt or we love him. Nah, you got to address that situation. So cornerback, we know that. Oliver, come on, man. I don't know. To me, he just can't get right. But I think he has a future. But to me, he's almost like a nickel guy.
Right.
Sitting there, nickel, Trufant. And then I'm telling you, one of the wild cards is to really take it to another level. We need Deion Jones to kind of take it back up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and here's another thing at 16. I wouldn't have a problem. Let's see, as the Falcons evaluate, who's the best tight end. The tight end position now is going to move up. Because there have been a couple of teams that picked tight ends over the last couple of years, and they've had a lot of success. So I don't know, man, but the Falcons, to me, listen, everything I'm doing is about Super Bowl. I'm Super Bowl or bust. You know how you kind of say, well, I don't want to, salvage our future.
Yeah.
The future is now.
That's certainly a fair point. Curtis Simmons agrees with you, saying, I think the Falcons are going to move up and give a big name for Swift and Kinlaw. They have a ton of pressure to produce big and very deep in the playoffs. If not the big show, Thomas Dimitroff and Dan Quinn, I feel, is going to do whatever it takes to get there. So to kind of go back to what I was saying a little earlier, I said, if possible, Atlanta needs to make a big splash in the draft. Now, I am fundamentally, morally against trading up. I just think you have to give up too many assets to do it. But it is fair to point out, as Curtis says here, that if you want to make a big splash, trading up is the best way to do that. And for a GM that knows that he's on a very short leash, for a coach that knows it's sort of put up or shut up time, I would imagine that for these two this year, it probably is easier to talk themselves into potentially doing that, because it's just sort of easier to get fans excited that way. It's easier, at least theoretically, in your mind, to get a player who can make an immediate impact. So given the precarious situation professionally that Dimitrov and Quinn find themselves in, them talking themselves into a trade-up, as Curtis kind of suggested, you can't get Kinlaw and Swift, but talking about some sort of trade-up situation, I could see these guys finding it easier to do that because it's a way of just kind of getting everybody kind of rallied to the same point on draft night.
And from my own thinking, I didn't hear nothing about this. Just saying,
right.
The Falcons want an edge guy. Simple. And they're going to get an edge guy. They're willing to do what they got to do to get an edge guy.
But you'd have to. But hold on now. Don't even start this because you'd have to trade half of DeKalb County to get.
Nobody. I'm not going to.
You'd have to trade the whole belt line to get to the second pick.
Nobody. Listen, the Redskins got to get Chase.
Yeah, right.
Man, you took it to another level. But they got to trade players.
But if you're moving up for an edge rusher, that's the only one you're moving up for.
But we got to see what's going to happen out there. There's still There's been evaluations since the season now. So some of these guys, they got some good intel. But again, we got to remember the process is not over. You got combine, you got pro day, you got individual workouts. So things are going to change.
Let me get some comments on YouTube here for a moment. Mr. CDXX for Life says, y'all talking like the Falcons need a whole new team. I mean, I did say this the other day, I want to be able to talk in optimistic terms about Atlanta having a big turnaround for this upcoming season, but I think that there are no shortage of 5 truly legitimate needs this team has. And you can't all address these with early picks because Atlanta doesn't have enough early picks to do that. But left guard is a problem. Running back is a problem. Tight end is about to be a problem. We'll have more on this in a moment. Defensive tackle is a problem. Cornerback is a problem. That's 5. I'm getting to 6 right there.
Hold up, you forgot somebody. The fans are a problem. Now back to you. I need them to show up.
Oh, come on.
Why do you? Okay, you better go ahead because I don't want to get on up. Hey, I'm keeping it real with the Falcon fans now.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some people that have been priced out the market, but y'all can keep talking about everything else, but we also got to address the fans too. But that's another day.
That's certainly fine. But in this particular case, to go back to what the commenter brought up, I mean, they do have a lot they got to try to figure out. I mean, it's not a short number of got to have way better production from this position, that position, 5, 6, and I didn't even mention edge rusher yet, which is probably the biggest need of all.
Now, dude, you putting words in my mouth. Now, one thing I said is the Falcons have a team right now that, to me, they got to get 1 or 2. Like I said, they got to trade up to get those 2 picks because it's win now. So the roster, to me, is fine. I know they got holes, but I'm trying to get 2 guys that can win now. But, it is what it is now. Hey, it's all about what? Production. So last year's production says, hey, there's some guys out there that aren't living up to that contract.
Daquan Patton on YouTube says left guard's not that much of an issue. I don't think it's enough of an issue that you can address it with one of your first 3 picks, all 3 in the top 55. But I do. I mean, Arthur Blank himself has said that's something that he's concerned about. Now, as I said before, given the money you're paying Matt, given the money you're paying Matthews, given the 2 first-round picks you used on the right side last year, I don't think you could afford to come back and do something aggressive at the left guard spot this year. At least I'd be very surprised if they did. But Blank has said with his own words that that's one of the spots that he needs to see them get better. I mean, at a certain point in time, you've thrown every resource you can at fixing your offensive line, and you just got to sort of hope it works out. But Blank himself has called left guard an issue.
Yeah, he has. But I'm calling left guard an issue. Mm-hmm. We do not need to worry about left guard right now. Again, it's part of a unit. The guys just need to play better as a unit. So listen, we act like left guard was the only position to get whooped. Mm-hmm. Dan Quinn even came after the season and said, guess what? Our offensive line didn't play well this year.
Yeah, that's right.
Matt Ryan, 48 sacks. We know that's it. But I can tell you this. The left guard was not the only guy getting his butt whooped. So to me, play better. Work together. All you high draft picks, get it done. Stop blaming the left guard, y'all. Stop it.
John Knight says you can get a left guard with the extra 3rd-round pick when trading back with our 3rd overall pick. There you go. That's a nice way for John to kind of think about that.
Why the Georgia guy? I don't mean to interrupt. Where is he ranked at? The big tackle from Georgia.
Andrew Thomas?
Yeah.
He's probably 20-ish something right now. He'd be on the board when Atlanta drafts. Thought to be kind of definitely a 1st-round pick. Mel Kiper the other day in a conference call mentioned that he thought that Thomas wasn't as fully developed as a pass protector yet. Mm-hmm. What's funny about that is the Georgia pass protection stats are really good this past year.
Except
they actually weren't great against
when they played Kinlaw, but back to you.
Right, yeah. They weren't great against the run, at least as good as they'd been the previous year. So some people are probably a little bit surprised by what Kiper said about Thomas, but he's still a first-round pick.
Did you go, real quick, I'm not trying to get another stuff. Tennessee kind of did pretty good against Georgia for like a half now.
Yeah, for a half, yeah.
I mean, y'all had the Great Wall.
Well, I
hate to take shots at the Great Wall.
That Great Wall had some holes in it.
Nah, listen, they did a good job.
Yeah.
This is one of the best offensive lines in Georgia history, no doubt. Good guys.
But they definitely could have been better if so. Maybe the results for the season would have been better. Shane Elliott on YouTube says, so BA, would you not try to trade for Von Miller if he's willing to be traded to a team that would make it to the playoffs? You know,
where does this come from? The Von Miller.
I don't know. We've had people in the comment section last couple of days talking about a Von Miller trade. I'm not really quite sure where that's even coming from. I guess I don't know if he's put it out there or what, but that's been kind of talked about.
No, he didn't put that out there. He didn't. I'm Von's personal trainer. Von's not leaving. Von loves Denver. Von wants to be in Denver. Now, he doesn't fit in. Now, I tell you a team that he would fit in at, the Baltimore Ravens. They have one edge guy and a young guy. But again, Von is not trying to be traded. He wants to be a Denver Bronco, in my opinion, for life. But guess what? Yeah. He also wants to win a championship. So, Von, when it's that time, he will make the decision or talk about it.
See, Deontay Greer says on YouTube, who can we realistically get in free agency? I think that realistically is the key word there. You're looking at some of those less expensive guys. The idea of, getting involved in a Yannick Ngakoue situation or, getting involved in, Dante Fowler, some of those names we mentioned. That seems to be a little bit unrealistic to me for Atlanta. But someone a little bit less of a price tag is the kind of thing that I think, that's what you should want to do because it's those moves made, near the sort of bottom part of the salary cap, small money deals. Those are the ones that have the chance of potentially paying off the most. And so from an Atlanta fan, I said before, you need those exciting moves to get people revved up. The free agency moves that Atlanta's likely to make might not necessarily energize fans, but in terms of producing results on the field, those low-dollar moves actually, I think, benefit you in the long run more so than those high-dollar moves do, where a lot of times there's huge buyer's remorse for the most aggressive teams in free agency.
Oh, no question about that. Again, we talked about Fowler. We talked about Ngakoue. Fowler says he wants to come here, but to me, the Falcons got to pay some money. When you're talking about Fowler and Ngakoue, Hooper, we appreciate your efforts. You got to go.
Yeah.
He ain't getting no money, right? But also, if they go and get Ngakoue or they're going to have to get Fowler, it's going to be a challenge for you to also bring back Devondre Campbell now.
Yeah.
So that's the price you pay. But when you're looking at free agents, I said it, my guy is out there. He's leaving Dallas. He can rush. He will have the kind of impact as Adrian Claiborne when we first got him, right?
Yeah.
The ability to, destroy quarterbacks? Give me Robert Quinn right now. He also helps Takk McKinley with the development. He instantly comes in. I'm telling you, he's still a 10-sack guy. That's Aaron Donald.
Yeah.
Right, messing up. That's Aaron Donald. Quinn ain't got. Well, I'll take that guy though.
Rocky Ramsey says, you never know who we might get that turns out to our next Shaq Barrett, which is a fair thing to bring up. Also, Bradley Thomas mentioning Robert Quinn there as well. That's a little bit more of, I think, a sensible financial move for the Falcons to make right now. By the way, one more thing about this D-Led story before we kind of move on to something else. I mentioned before that he talks about Christian Fulton as a potential guy that the Falcons will be paying attention to with the scouting combine this week. What D-Led writes is Falcons need to improve their coverage in the secondary. First half of the season, wide receivers roamed around unescorted at times. And Daniel Jeremiah says of Fulton, when you get some guys that maybe have a little bit of a question mark in the speed area, how fast are they going to run? He mentions Christian Fulton's one of those. My issue with him is Derek Stingley, the cornerback who lined up opposite of Fulton for LSU this season, was so good. I mean, you could not throw in his side of the field. That for guys like Delpit, the safety out of LSU, for guys like Fulton, the other cornerback, I just think it's difficult to know how good they really are when you've got like that alpha on that one cornerback spot. I mean, Stingley was the best defensive back on that team by far. We're talking about, Fulton and Delpit as being high draft picks, but they weren't anywhere near the best defensive back on their own roster. That was the freshman Derek Stingley. So I'd have some real questions about how Fulton's going to play away from Stingley.
Well, maybe Stingley's just that good.
Yeah, he is.
Maybe Stingley is so good, but think about this with Fulton.
Or at least I think he is.
I mean, if he's fast, let me tell you, in this defense, this is cover 2, cover 3. The Falcons play they're a base coverage team, but what they do need is someone that can cover man to man, because here's why. if you don't have no pass rush, you're going to have to make a commitment to blitz.
Yeah.
You're going to have to send more guys, right, and have less guys in coverage, right? Does that make sense? So, to me, when you got a guy like Fulton, to me, it's simple like this. Can you cover man-to-man? And that's an evaluation the Falcons have. But also, if you can get the pass rusher, you can also, it helps you when it comes to getting a cornerback. But I ain't got no problem. I already said that a million times. Listen, at 16, I'm good with getting a cornerback. I just need a guy that's going to be a starter. And maybe not the impact that you want to hear is sexiness. Maybe like you want BA, you want him to, the cornerback to fill up the bench, have impact.
Yeah.
But that was like a joke.
Sure, I understand.
You didn't get that one.
No, that's good.
But again, I like it.
All right, it's AJC Falcons News Now, sponsored by Miller Lite. I want to show you something here. We got a nice, fancy new camera angle that I want you to check out. Our officially branded Falcons cooler. Of course, the AJC is a proud partner of the Atlanta Falcons. We show that off with this right here. And this can be yours as a special complimentary gift simply by becoming an AJC subscriber. When you go to the website, subscribe.ajc.com/Falcons News Now, you have lots of different subscription options to choose from. You can get the daily e-paper sent right to your phone or your laptop, whatever else. You can get Sunday home delivery, the paper in your hands, delivered right there to your doorstep, or 7-day home delivery. You can get that as well. Whichever option you choose, you get the officially branded cooler here as a special thank you to all of that.
Bro, y'all didn't even warn me about this. You and Mike then got the special camera,
Very special camera.
Like we in XFL.
Very special. That's exactly right. That's our spider cam.
But the point is this. Put that up again. Look, Man, I didn't get a chance to shave. I'm all, bad shave day.
No, that's
man.
all right.
Y'all didn't caught me off guard. I was rushing over here from the gym.
No,
to get
no
a chance
worries.
That's like a bad angle, man. Look.
No worries.
Y'all wrong for that, man.
I just needed my own.
Bad shave.
I need my own close-up camera like you get yours. We gotta shake things up around here.
Well,
we're
look
growing.
what I did. Put that up again.
All right, come here.
Just look.
You're trying to hide. Listen, we're growing. We're getting better around here. We got big audiences, so we're trying to take care of people.
All right, cool.
We appreciate you being here, by the way, on AJC Falcons News Now, sponsored by Miller Lite as well. Don't forget to get your cooler. I've been telling you about this for a while. Subscribe.ajc.com/Falcons News Now. All right, speaking of the AJC, by the way, let me share this with you. Our buddy Michael Cunningham, columnist there, talking about some of the things that Dan Quinn said as of late. Michael in the pages of AJC.com says pretty clearly he sees two needs for Falcons bigger than any other. He sees edge rusher and he says a top cornerback. He says that they are stocked at the other important positions. I don't see a real turnaround in 2020 if they don't take care of those two. So do you agree? I know edge rusher you agree with because we've talked about that every day for months. But do you agree that cornerback is the second biggest need on this team right now?
Yeah, I do. I really do. And I think I've kind of reiterated that a few times over the weeks. It's got to be the best cornerback or the best rusher. Cornerback, listen, a cornerback's going to help a pass rush that have the ability really to generate a lot of pressure because you're going to it'll give a defensive line an opportunity to have more coverage sacks. So then now on the other end, talking about part two, if you get a D lineman, it helps the secondary somewhat that's leaky like we've had. D-Led's hitting the home run. Listen, think about it like this. We absolutely have no pass rush. And meaning this, Grady Jarrett is pass rush. But listen, you're limited. I mean, just think what Grady would be if he had two guys coming off the end. So as far as the edge is concerned, we have no one. There isn't anyone. Again, Adrian Claiborne's solid now inside, but let's be realistic. We have no one as an edge rusher because you cannot. I love Tack McKinley. I think Tack still has upside if he started learning some finesse moves. But they have nothing. You can't count on Tack. They need two guys.
So JU Talk Sports says he thinks the pass rusher is more important than a defensive back. Robert Bennett says pass rush first, then cornerback, then safety. It's funny, though. I'm not seeing anybody mentioning what I would mention here, which is that Isaiah Davis is, I think, maybe a second-round pick or a first one will be a cornerback, but I also think a defensive tackle. So everybody's going to mention this defensive stuff. Y'all, I think for Atlanta, if you want to say edge rusher is like your most important need, I think for Atlanta, that running back spot is just as important. I mean, Atlanta could not rush the ball at all a year ago. Statistically speaking, they're actually worse running the ball than they were sacking the quarterback. There were 7 teams that had fewer sacks than Atlanta. I think there are only 2 teams in the league that rush for fewer yards than the Falcons do. So from a statistical standpoint, the inability to run the ball was maybe even more significant than the inability to sack the quarterback. Now, you can say overall that sacks are more important than rushing yards. You may be right about that. But I'm surprised in all these comments that I'm reading, I'm not seeing people mention running back as significant a need as the pass rush position, especially when Devontae Freeman's not gotten the job done, and for all intents and purposes, he's going to be on his way out the door.
Yeah, you're exactly right. But look, let's think about a couple teams, B. The Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
Oh, you got a stud. Top 5 pick.
Right.
Ezekiel Elliott. How's that done for him? To me, Ezekiel Elliott, the running back, listen, the running back, this ain't like Little League, the old days. This ain't like, you know, back in the day, the running backs running the show. He's the guy. Running backs are way down on the list right now.
Yeah.
Look at Saquon Barkley. He's phenomenal.
Right.
He kills it. But look at the impact to me. So it's a push when you go running back. So I'm going to build something that really, ultimately, is going to take me to the Super Bowl. How many teams recently have to me, and you talked about the Falcons got to throw. So the running back is down on my list. Offensive lines make running backs look good because Ezekiel is a line of some beasts. But I do hear what you're saying.
Right.
A running back of the magnitude that makes people miss and exciting and Swift is that guy.
Yeah.
But in the second round, you can find that guy. Listen, I believe the Falcons, even in the third round, can find a guy. But
yeah, people talk about Cam Akers out of Florida State in our comment section before. I'm not sure exactly where he's slotted to go, but that's the kind of guy that's sort of beyond the second round that I think is a pretty interesting prospect.
Yeah, I do too. But, you know, to me, the running back situation, I agree. Listen, and I don't have a problem if they got Swift.
Yeah.
I mean, when you add a guy like that, I'm seriously, and I agree. And a lot of people might not understand why I agree with you on that.
Right.
I mean, this is not just an auxiliary piece.
Yeah.
This is a big-time weapon.
So hear me on this for a second. So let's put Swift aside for a moment. Let's say that Falcons don't draft Swift. That doesn't change my belief, though, that running back is still a position they need to address. If you're not addressing the first round, if you choose to address pass rusher there, I think you've got no choice but to address in the second round, which Swift is probably gone for. So what I'm arguing right now is not so much an argument in favor of drafting DeAndre Swift, because ultimately, even though I think they should, I don't believe that's what Atlanta's going to do. My point on this, though, is how much Atlanta needs to pair the running game with what I think it still has in the passing game. Because you mentioned two teams I think are pretty interesting. You mentioned Dallas, who has Zeke, and you mentioned the Giants, who have Saquon Barkley. But what do those two teams also have? You've got Daniel Jones at New York, who I don't think of as a franchise quarterback as of yet. You've got Dak Prescott in Dallas, who I also don't think of as a franchise quarterback yet. And the reason why I know Dak's not a franchise guy is because there have been rumors about Tom Brady in Dallas. There have been rumors about trading up and trying to get Tua Tagovailoa in Dallas. If Dak Prescott was a franchise quarterback, you wouldn't have to be doing those kinds of things. There'd be no rumors like that. So in Matt Ryan, I got a better quarterback than Dak, and I got a better quarterback than Danny Dimes. So from that standpoint, you pair the running game to go along with what is still, even at this late stage of his career, a franchise quarterback. All of a sudden, that's a lethal combination. Doesn't have to be very high pick the way that Saquon Barkley once was, but competent running game to go along with the franchise quarterback could make for a very explosive offense here in Atlanta.
Well, I think running game, let me play devil's advocate, I think running game's a little overrated. You look what happened out there in the Super Bowl champs, they ain't really run the ball that much, right? You look at San Fran, they were a running team, they had success. But to me, running is like an attitude. You listen, you run for toughness. To me, you throw them for touchdowns, right? Because most people, they use the run to set up the play action pass. So I just think the running back position for the Falcons, and listen, the Falcons ain't trying to run anyway.
That's
ain't
true.
trying to run the ball.
Now that's true.
You got Julio, you got Ridley. You might bring back Hoop. You got a couple other guys out there. You drafted these offensive tackles for pass protection because they definitely ain't running tackles.
Yeah.
So listen, me personally, now I don't want the running back, but I'm just saying if they got him, I mean, it's not like he's some scrub and Swift, but you got to get an edge. I'm looking into the camera. How do you go into a season and close games down? Guess what Kansas City did last year? They went and got Frank Clark from Seattle. Guess who got the last sack to win the game? He had 3 of the last 4 plays. He was dominant. Frank Clark. And for the Falcons to get to the Super Bowl, as much as I say Robert Quinn, you might have to figure out a way to lose some players to get you a Frank Clark, to go get you a Jan, to get you a Fowler. Frank Clark, Kansas City. Hey.
That's an interesting one. By the way, who is it over here? Lou Hamer Productions on YouTube mentioned the possibility of Jabari Zuniga out of Florida in the low second, early third round. And that's true. I don't really know where Zuniga has been projected to go. Do you know much about Jabari's NFL projection?
I seen him around third to fourth.
Yeah. I mean, he was certainly a good college player when he was healthy. But he also mentioned the other Florida guy, Jonathan Grenard, in the comment section a little bit earlier there,
Both those guys are ballers, though.
Yeah,
Ballers.
they were injured a good bit for Florida this year, but they were healthy. They were good. Dalla DiBiase on YouTube also says, how about a defensive tackle? How about Grady as well? The ability to collapse the pocket from the inside is just as effective to help the defense. I do agree with Dalla on that, and you touched on this earlier. You want to make everybody's job on the defense easier? Let the tip of the spear, what you do right there in that interior defensive line situation. I thought it was kind of weird that one of the draft experts kind of called Kinlaw 3 technique. I think of him as more of a true nose guard than that, but maybe.
Play both.
Yeah.
Play both.
But that interior of the defensive line, you get better there. Everybody's job just got better because you are collapsing the defense, or I should say you're collapsing the pocket from the interior at that point.
Yeah, when you get Kinlaw, if you get Kinlaw, that adds a lot of value to Grady. Now you got a guy who can play the nose, who can also play the 3 technique. Also, if they go to 3-4, they can also play 4 eyes. You know, both of those guys are stout.
Yeah.
Grady needs a partner, man. I mean, when you think about this, how many times you seen another player on the Falcons D-line make a tackle for loss? I mean, again, I watch Falcon fans, I'm sure you're like me, I've watched every play.
Yeah.
The plays that are in the game say, oh, Grady Jarrett makes a tackle. Grady Jarrett fights off a double team. And to me, it helps when you have another guy that's disruptive. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they just don't. They don't. And Kinlaw, I want everybody to go online and put in Kinlaw, South Carolina, and just look at a few videos, look at the pictures. Man, this dude is listen.
He killed Georgia, man.
I mean, listen, this dude is big. I mean, to me, that's what I want. The only guy on the Falcons D-line that to me needs to be short and bulky because he's a Pro Bowler, he's a boss, Grady Jarrett. But I need him to start drafting them dudes, man.
Yeah.
I need him drafting them big dudes that are stout, that are physical, that play with violence. That's what the Falcons, I'd like to see them get.
I would be very curious to see. I'm always interested in our comment section reaction. We'll be on the air on that Friday after the draft on that Thursday night. I got to think Kinlaw would be about the most popular pick. Assuming he was here, you know, obviously we have people that disagree about everything. Everybody does. No, nobody agrees on everything. I don't hardly ever see anybody say a bad word about Kinlaw in terms of people who are following this stuff and paying close attention. I got to think a huge majority of Falcons fans, if that pick could go down, would view that as a good pick.
Well, people didn't say bad things about Jamal Anderson, the DN Jamal Anderson back in the day.
I remember liking that pick, yeah.
You did?
At the time I did. I mean, it didn't work out, but at the time I liked
Vic Beasley, too. It's a gamble.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, there is no surefire person in this draft. No. Yeah. I mean, we can go back throughout the history from Tony Mandridge to Ryan Leaf, you know what I mean, to the last few years in the draft. We can go back. So there's nothing. Look, even Burrow, even Chase Young, there is no guaranteed surefire to get in the league and become that guy.
It's AJC Falcons News Now, sponsored by Miller Lite. Miller Lite, the official beer of the Atlanta Falcons. Interesting piece at ESPN.com. Joel Corey, former NFL agent, on the potential salary number for Austin Hooper, the free agent tight end. What Corey tells ESPN is, let's say it's like 44, I'm quoting here, let's say it's like $44 million over 4 years. Totally guarantee the first 2 years at $26.5 million. Corey suggesting the possibility of $13 million per season guaranteed for the first 2 years for Austin Hooper. If that be the case, then you got to pat him on the back and wish him well. You can't pay him $13 million a year.
Have you seen what the league? This is the NFL.
You can't do it.
This is a multi-billion dollar. Listen, listen. To me, it comes almost down to fans looking at it from the standpoint of where the average people are. And they looking at, wow, that's $10 million now. Yeah. In the regular world, this is the NFL world. This is different. The cap is going up. The cap is going to skyrocket. The new CBA, man, listen, these cats, the players got so much power, they done negotiate that we don't have to give effort at practice. We got a chill day.
Yeah.
At practice. So listen, the money that you're generating, that's why I'm not surprised. I'm not, listen.
You play poker, though?
Huh?
You play poker?
No.
If you play poker, this is one of those things when that pot starts getting bigger and bigger and bigger, eventually I have to look at my cards and say, I'm out. I was in at like $9 million a year. Yeah. I was in at like $10 million a year. I might could have been in a little higher than that. But if I got some guy telling ESPN it's going to be $13 million per season guaranteed for the first 2 years, 44 over 4 years, which is a little bit of a made-up number, but nonetheless, 44 over 4 years. At that point in time, I'm out. I'm out. At $44 million, I'm out. At 13 guaranteed per year for 2 years,
I respect
I'm
that.
out. I'm going to tell Matt Ryan, who I still think is really good, I'm going to tell Matt Ryan, Matt, I need you to go make a tight end over here. We're going to draft one. I need you to turn him into something. We're paying you $30 million to make him good. I'm giving you all this money. I can't afford to give Austin Hooper $13 million.
I can't wait. This is going to be interesting what's going to happen with Hoop. This is going to be very interesting.
At that point in time, I got to be out. I do. JC's Tornado Kings like me. He's like, that's a lot of money. He also says, what about tagging Hooper? I don't think they're going to do that. Because that's,
top five. That'd be top five of what the top guys are doing.
Yeah, it's the average, right? And when you get to that high average, that's just kind of up there. It's just kind of up there. So
Hoop about to get him a Bentley, riding through Buckhead.
I mean, listen, he's a good player. He deserves to get paid. I just can't do it here.
You don't want to see him his $14 million?
I just can't do it here.
Hey, I love it, man. Listen, it's just so cool for me as a former NFL player that's been around a couple CBAs, just looking what the guys are talking about. I remember when Derek Thomas, there was a big thing when he's going to get $3 million a year.
Yeah.
I remember Bobby Hebert and those guys, when he was at the Saints, got the first, I think it was one of the first times getting $1 million a year.
Yeah.
Reggie White got $4 million to go to Green Bay. It's just so cool, and it's kind of like I'm just proud as a former player to see a tight end.
No, you
talking
should.
about $14 million. That's incredible.
Yeah, and listen, I'm not mad at anybody for getting the money they can get. That Hooper should go out and get the money that he can. I guess the point is to kind of tie it back to something we said early in the show. You have to think about the marketing part of all this. Yeah. You have to think about the business part of all of this. Austin Hooper is a good player, but there is not a human being in this city who's ever bought a ticket to go see Austin Hooper play. Like Austin Hooper does not bring one fan into the stands the way that, franchise quarterback does, what Julio Jones does. Calvin Ridley has brought fans to this franchise. You can point to Falcons players who have a little bit of charisma and bring fans to the stands. Hooper is a good player, but no one has ever come to Mercedes-Benz Stadium or the Georgia Dome before that. No one has ever shown up into the stadium to watch Austin Hooper play. He's not an attraction like that.
There's nothing I can say.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right.
All right. Chuck's got some cool stuff he's going to tell us about as the combine gets started tonight. We'll do that in a moment. Let me squeeze in one Tom Brady rumor before we get there. So I guess now the Denver Broncos are kind of popping up on the radar here.
Don't do it, Tom.
The Brady stuff, I think the Brady stuff is fun. I think, if he ends up going back to New England or whatever he's doing, I think it's fun. It's fun to watch where this is going.
He's going back to New England.
Yeah. We keep saying this, though. That man you see on your screen right there, Mr. Belichick, I don't think Brady and Belichick deep down like each other very much.
That's a bad picture of him.
He doesn't have any good pictures.
Well, that's usually the same.
We should get some of those Super Bowl pictures where he's got like the linen shirt on. He looked like corporate outing Belichick. But yeah, I don't think they like each other.
I know I hear that all the time, but to me, you threw an interception for a touchdown on your last play. And I know people think, that's nothing.
Right.
That's your legacy in New England.
No, I understand that.
That is part of your
legacy. Well, that's not his legacy. He won 8 gazillion Super Bowls. That's his legacy in New England.
For him it is.
Nobody's
He's a competitor. Okay, maybe that went a little far, but on his last play, this ain't Jameis Winston now.
Yeah.
This ain't, who cares? Jameis threw 30, it was a touchdown, the Falcons win the game. This is Tom Brady. I'm watching it, and I seen it in his eyes. I seen it. He was frustrated. It was disappointing the way they ended. I just think he's coming back. But it would be crazy to see Tom Brady. No one go to Denver, and they some absolute scrubs. Denver, listen, I'm not going to the Raiders. I'm not going to Denver. I'm going to try to find a team I can win with.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't see it in Denver. Man, listen.
But
Denver is the place where quarterbacks go to die. If you want to get a quick burial, go to Denver. Look at all the quarterbacks that haven't done anything.
I haven't seen a Broncos game since Elway played, I don't guess, or Peyton Manning played. It's been a long time. But isn't the worst thing about Denver their quarterback situation, though, that if you bring a better quarterback in, does the roster suddenly look a little bit better? I mean, they got some pieces on defense, don't they?
They don't have no receivers. Well, they got rid of Sanders. They sent him to Frisco.
I can't tell you that. Yeah. By the way, Shane Elliott says, what about tagging Hooper, and then trading him after that? I did see that mentioned as a possibility. And I guess a guy like Ngakoue would be somebody you could potentially trade him for. That seems really complicated. I mean, I'd be fine with that, I guess, but that seems like a really complicated thing to pull off.
Well, I don't know how it relates to Hooper, but let me go back to Yannick.
More GMs now are willing to trade than used to be, but that still seems a little out there for the NFL to try to do.
Yeah.
But I have read that as a possibility, that's the point.
What will you do for a Super Bowl to get your edge guy? Now, you go get Yannick.
Yeah.
This is $18 million a year. And on the open market, it could get, listen, Fowler can get paid too. This is $15 million plus.
Yeah, no, he's going to get money from somebody.
They're going to get paid.
Yeah, buyer beware. But he's going to get his money from somewhere.
It's funny. Yannick is the guy who ran Fowler out of town.
That's really funny.
Yannick took his job.
That's funny.
They ran. Yeah. Got Fowler out.
That's funny. All right. Speaking of running guys out of jobs, that's what a lot of folks in the NFL Scouting Combine trying to do this week. Chuck Smith gets folks ready for the NFL Scouting Combine and going to show us a couple more videos today about how that gets done.
Yep. So part of the training for the combine is you're basically replicating the drills.
Yeah.
You do them over and over and over. It's a 7-week process that you continuously do. So here's a few of the videos that let's see what we got up here. That's a handsome dude. I don't know.
That's a handsome guy.
He ain't built for no combine though. You know what I'm saying? But so what we're doing right here, guys, this was a 45-degree drill with some of the guys that I'm working with. The two twins are in the middle from Nebraska. They're going to go to the combine. That's Nick Coe. That's right there to the right.
There you go.
Yep. Tyler Clark, former Georgia guy. This is the 45-degree drill. And this is really a test of hips and change of direction. As Brandon said, the kid, one of the twins with the black, had hips way too stiff, but they work. So this drill right here, like I said, it works on change of direction, shuffle. As you see, they're pivoting, they're planting, they're opening up their hips. And now remember, these drills have been around for years.
Yeah.
So one of the things as a trainer, what we try to do, we basically know exactly what they're doing. So to me, that's why the NFL draft this year, they're adding new drills. They're adding drills that, challenge the players. Because I always say, man, we can hustle the combine, meaning we know what they're going to do. We do the same thing. So even if a player has limitations, I can do drills that teach them, that cover up their limitations. So the combine now, Troy Vincent, him and, the commissioner, Roger Goodell, realize that it's hard for a team to evaluate a guy if the guys got the answers to the test.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had the answers to the test a long time. So that's why NFL teams have stopped putting as much thought into the combine, and pro day has become actually outside of a 40. The combine for defensive linemen, linebackers, and cover guys is more important now. Pro day is as big as the combine.
That's really interesting. And for folks who want to find out more about what you're doing, how can folks get more in touch with you?
Oh, they can hit me at 1-833-222.
How you not know your phone number?
I know, right?
Did you get hit in the head that much?
Yeah, I'm still trying to get my concussion money, man. Them lawyers taking way too long on this money. But look, so, real cool, 833-222-7225. Hey, my high school class is doing real good. Where's my phone? I can't pull that. We had a great kid come up from Macon. I'm sorry, I can't remember your name. I think his dad was Bill.
Okay.
But by watching the show.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Good to hear.
So, training high school guys, college guys, parents want to learn anybody.
By the way, Jules the 14th on YouTube says, what do you think about Cole Kmet from Notre Dame? That's an example of a pretty interesting tight end prospect. That's a potential replacement. That's a guy that injured a bit for Notre Dame at the beginning of the season, but when he was in there, man, he was well used by the Irish. They definitely used him on that. Abracadabra also says, how about those new uniforms? Matte black helmets. That's like the rough looking finish with red face mask. You getting on board with that?
I don't like the matte finish. I'm just not big on that.
That's interesting. Suggestion. We're getting close to finding out about those new uniforms. We'll be talking a little about that then. We've got to go for now, though. Oh, by the way, don't forget, coming up on Friday, big thing for us on Friday, we're going to be live at the Atlanta International Auto Show at the Georgia World Congress Center. We're going to do our show right there from Building C, right there at the entrance to the World Congress Center and the auto show. We're going to do it there at 1 p.m. As always, a chance for you to come out and see us at the Georgia World Congress Center for the Atlanta International Auto Show. Go to GoAutoShow.com for your tickets. For adults, they're just $12. You got some discounts for kids as well, also for heroes, things like that. A lot of discount opportunities. Go to GoAutoShow.com. You can find out more about that. All kinds of cars, trucks, SUVs, more than 24 manufacturers represented. Cousin Eddie's RV from Christmas Vacation is going to be there. Exotic vehicles from Caffeine and Octane going to be there too. It's going to be really fun. If you've never been before, it's actually a pretty cool thing. And we're super excited about doing our show there live on Friday at 1 p.m. at the Georgia World Congress Center for the Atlanta International Auto Show, 38th annual. GoAutoShow.com. You can find out more details about that. Chuck, I look forward to seeing you there in downtown on Friday.
Let's do it.
All right, we'll see you all then there as well. It's AJC Falcons News Now, sponsored by Miller Lite. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you back here on Friday.